Ladies and gentlemen, we have gathered in this space not just to hear, but to feel. Not merely to listen, but to remember. And I invite you to do both, because the road we are about to walk together is not paved with comfort alone. It is lined with lessons. Some are bitter as unripe fruit, others sweet as a peach dripping in the July sun. But all of them, I promise you, are meant to nourish the soul. Now let us begin. There is a time in life when the noise fades and all that's left is your own breathing. The shouts of ambition quiet down, the frantic race slows to a stroll, and the mask that so many wear of striving, of pretending, of becoming, falls gently to the floor. That time, my dear ones, is old age, not a curse, not a sentence, but a sacred season, a reckoning and a reward. But even the sacred must be protected. We live our youth collecting people. We gather friends, lovers, family, colleagues, cousins twice removed, neighbors we wave to and barely know. We drag them along like ornaments on the Christmas tree of our lives. And we tell ourselves we are being loyal, that blood is thicker than boundaries, that time shared is reason enough to keep them. We are trained to endure, especially if the people we carry share our name or DNA. But let me tell you something old and true. Not everyone who starts with you should finish with you. Not everyone who sat at your table in plenty deserves a seat when your strength runs low. And yes, sometimes the ones you must leave behind wear the faces of family. It is a hard truth, but it is a clean one. Today, I offer you not a judgment, but a compass, a guide. 5 kinds of people you must walk away from as you grow older, even if their names echo in your blood. Not because you are cruel, not because you are ungrateful, but because your peace, your God-given, dearly earned, storm-tested peace is a garden, and it is time you learn to weed it. First, avoid the keeper of yesterday's mistakes. Oh, how this one clings. You know them. The one who sees you not as you are, but as you were. The cousin who always brings up what you did in 1972. The brother who reminds you of the child you failed. The daughter who still holds your silence against you. These are the ones who will not let you grow, because they are in love with your shadow. They serve it to you like supper, every visit, every phone call. Remember when you messed up? Remember when you weren't there for me? Remember that thing you did? Let me be clear. A person who builds a temple to your sins cannot share the sanctuary of your peace. Forgiveness is not forgetting, but growth is not prison. If you have apologized, if you have tried, if you have paid your dues in regret and tears, you owe no one the rest of your days in penance. You are not a statue built to remind them of pain. You are still becoming, still moving. You deserve to be seen in full sunlight, not only by the shadows you cast in your darkest hour. You must walk away from the keeper of yesterday's mistakes, lest they trap you in a version of yourself you have long outgrown. Now listen to me. The second person you must avoid is the joy thief. Oh, the joy thief wears many faces. Sometimes they are bitter, sometimes they are bored. Sometimes they are cloaked in the fine robes of realism. You show them a sunset, and they complain of the coming night. You sing, and they scoff at your voice. You dance, and they mock your rhythm. You smile, and they ask, "What's so funny?" You know them. Some of them may live in your house. Some may share your last name. These people find your joy offensive. Your laughter feels like an insult to their cynicism. And they will try, day by day, word by word, sigh by sigh, to turn your sky gray. But you were not born to be dimmed. Joy in old age is a revolution. It is defiance against a world that says you are too wrinkled to dance, too tired to laugh, too old to matter. You must protect your joy like fire in a storm. The joy thief will come with cold buckets, and you must turn them away, even if they say they love you. Love that seeks to silence your song is not love. It is control dressed in affection's disguise. You owe it to yourself to laugh out loud, to dance badly, to tell corny jokes and wear bright colors and flirt with the sky. Leave the joy thief behind. Let them find their own sun. Yours is not up for sharing with shadows. And now the third, the emotional beggar. Now don't get me wrong. We all need love. We all need shoulders and ears and hands to hold. But the emotional beggar is not seeking connection. They seek a host. They are hungry with no intention to eat what feeds them. They call you only to cry. They knock only when they are empty. And they take your time, your tenderness, your strength like candy from a dish. But they do not listen. They do not heal. They do not grow. And when you are the one in pain, they vanish like smoke on a breeze. There are parents who are emotional beggars. Children too. friends who cannot hear you unless you are serving them. Their love is lopsided, their support conditional, and their presence draining. You are not a sponge. You are not a well that never runs dry. And you are not selfish for needing balance. It is not cruel to say I love you, but I cannot carry you every day. You may feel guilty the first time you step back, but let me assure you, guilt is not always a sign of wrongdoing. Sometimes it is the residue of breaking a toxic pattern. The emotional beggar must learn to feed themselves, or else they will devour you. The fourth person to avoid is the success dismissive. Ah yes, these are the ones who cannot let you win. You build something, a garden, a painting, a legacy, and they say, anyone could have done that. You tell them you wrote a book, and they ask how many copies it sold. You share your pride, and they respond with statistics, with backhanded compliments, with silence. They are not happy unless you are small, especially if you come from the same roots. Sometimes the success dismissive is a sibling who saw you rise, sometimes a friend who thought you'd never go farther than them, and sometimes it is your own child, unable to accept that your wisdom might outshine their youth. Let me tell you, age is not the death of greatness, it is its refinement. You must not surround yourself with people who punish your progress, especially in these years, when you have finally begun to see your worth without apology. Do not let anyone shrink your story. Celebrate your wins, no matter how small. Hang your painting on the wall, wear your medals, tell your stories, shine. The success dismissive will try to dull you down. Let them sit in the shade. They have chosen it. You are called to the sun. And now the fifth and perhaps the most dangerous of them all, the manipulator in kindness's clothing. Ah, this one is subtle. They help you but with a price. They bring you food but expect your loyalty. They offer a ride but then use your dependency to control your choices. They smile while pulling strings. They say, I'm just trying to help, but every kindness is a leash. Often this is a family member, a caregiver, a trusted friend, and their currency is guilt. They may make decisions for you because it's best, but they never ask what you want. They say, after all I've done for you, as if love must be repaid in obedience. But kindness, when wielded as power, becomes a cage. You must watch for them. They are polite, often charming, and they know how to play the long game. But listen, darling, your freedom is not a gift. It is your right. Even if your legs grow weaker, your spirit is not for sale. Even if you need help with your medicine, your mind is still yours. Even if you forget a name or two, your soul remains whole. Do not give it to someone who treats your gratitude like a collar. Now some will say, but they are my family, and I say to you, yes. And family is not a pass, it is a privilege. Being your son, your niece, your partner, does not grant someone access to your peace. You are allowed to choose yourself. You are allowed to walk away. You are allowed to say no. Even if their blood runs through your veins, old age is not the time to apologize for your boundaries. It is the time to honor them. I do not tell you to hate. I tell you to release. I do not tell you to fight. I tell you to walk away with grace. Because your energy now is gold. Your days are diamonds. Your time is sacred. You must spend it with those who see you, not just need you. With those who feed you, not just drain you. With those who celebrate your life while you're still here to hear it. Let the past rest. Let the takers go. Let the joyless drift. Let those who can only love the younger version of you learn to love their own reflection. You are here, still becoming, still valuable, still whole. And if anyone tells you otherwise, no matter their name, no matter their title, no matter the weight of the years you have shared, walk on. Walk into the light of your peace. Walk into the garden of your joy. Walk into the arms of those who lift you. Because you, my dear one, have earned the right to live this chapter as you please. Not everyone who began with you deserves to end with you. And that is not betrayal. That is wisdom. And the great gift of aging is finally having the courage to choose peace over obligation. Now I know the weight of such words. I know how they may sit heavy in your chest, like stones dropped into still water. You may feel the ripple of memory, faces you love, moments you've cherished, voices that once soothed, now accused. You may think, but they were there when I had nothing. Or worse, what if I'm alone? Let me say this plainly. Solitude is not suffering. There is a loneliness that comes from being surrounded by people who cannot see you. That is the sharpest kind. That is the ache that sits beneath laughter, the silence that grows loud in the middle of company. But there is another kind of aloneness, a holy stillness, the kind you find when you sit beside a window and watch the sky change, the kind that greets you in the early morning light when the world has not yet stirred. That is not loneliness, that is presence, and you deserve it. You deserve to wake without dread, to answer the phone without bracing, to invite people into your home without measuring the cost to your spirit. You deserve softness, safety, truth. If the price of company is your peace, then that is not company, it is a tax, and you have already paid enough. Now some of you may ask, how do I begin? How do I step back from those I've always held close? You begin like the river carves the stone, slowly, with intention, and without apology. You begin by noticing. Pay attention to how you feel when certain people leave your presence. Do you feel lighter or do you feel smaller? Do you feel seen or scrutinized? Do you leave feeling poured into or poured out? Let your body tell the truth. Your mouth is afraid to speak. And then you create space, a missed call, a declined invitation, a boundary spoken plainly. I don't want to talk about that. I need time to myself. I'm not available for that kind of conversation anymore. And when they push back, as many will, you do not argue, you do not explain, you do not beg to be understood, because boundaries are not up for debate. They are declarations, and peace is not always polite. Let me tell you a secret that took me decades to learn. You do not have to be understood to be free. Let them misread you. Let them say you changed. Let them call you distant. It is better to be misunderstood than to be mistreated. It is better to be alone than to be emptied. But oh, don't think I am preaching only loss. No, my dear. When you clear the field, when you prune the tree, when you walk away from what stifles you, you make room. For what? For joy. For friendships that feel like warm quilts in winter. For conversations that don't exhaust but uplift. For people who ask, how are you? And wait, truly wait for the answer. For laughter that bubbles up without effort. For peace that is not conditional, and love that does not keep score. Yes, you may lose some, but you will gain yourself. And is that not the truest home we ever have? The self, finally known. The self, no longer twisted to accommodate another's comfort. The self, holy and whole. In this season of your life, let that be the goal. Not appeasement, not endurance, not survival, but alignment. Living in such a way that your days reflect your values, your circle reflects your worth, and your heart is not constantly at war with your reality. Because here's another truth that time has taught me. We do not become wiser simply because the clock ticks. No, wisdom is not a matter of time but of courage. The courage to see, to name, to change. So let's be brave together. Let's talk about the subtle violences, the little ways we betray ourselves for the sake of harmony. When we laugh at jokes that belittle us, when we answer calls that always end in criticism, when we let people dismiss our feelings because that's just how they are. That is not small. That is not nothing. That is erosion. And erosion, slow and steady, makes even mountains crumble. You have the right to stop the wear. You have the right to say, that's not okay with me anymore. Even if it's your son, even if it's your sister, even if it's the friend who's known you since high school. Because relationships are not immune to evolution. Some are meant to stay, others are meant to teach, and some, once they've run their course, are meant to be released with grace, let go, not with malice but with clarity, not with resentment but with resolve. Let go of needing to fix what refuses to change. Let go of playing therapist to people who don't want healing. Let go of carrying the emotional weight of grown adults who make choices and ask you to bear the consequences. Let go of being the bigger person always. Let go of the role they assigned you, the quiet one, the strong one, the forgiving one, and let yourself be honest instead. And yes, let go of the idea that you are abandoning them. You are not. You are rescuing yourself. Some may say, but I don't want to die with regrets. And I say, then don't spend your final chapters living for others' expectations. Because regret, real regret, is not saying no to people who drained you. It is looking back and realizing you spent your best days trying to be loved in ways that cost you your spirit. You are worthy, even when you are not useful. You are loved, even when you set limits. You are enough, even when you walk away. Now I can almost hear some of you thinking, but won't I be lonely? Let me offer this. There is a loneliness in shedding what no longer fits, in stepping out of roles, routines, and relationships that once defined you. It is the loneliness of birth. But what waits on the other side is belonging, not to them, but to yourself. And the more you live in alignment, the more you will attract those who see you as you are, not as you were or as they want you to be. You will meet new souls, even in older age. A neighbor with a kind heart, a stranger at the market who tells the truth with a sparkle in their eye. A group of women who laugh loudly and live fully and say, "Come sit with us." You will not be alone forever. But even if for a season you are, remember, solitude is a sacred companion. It teaches you your own rhythms, your own voice. It reminds you that you are a full symphony all by yourself. So take long walks with your thoughts. Make tea for one, and toast to your own becoming. Write letters to yourself. Tell the truth on paper. Listen to music that reminds you who you are beneath all the layers. You are not just someone's mother, sister, aunt, friend. You are a story. You are survival. You are laughter carried through generations. You are the wisdom someone else is praying to find. And so as you move forward, I ask you, who are you ready to release? What version of yourself are you ready to reclaim? What kind of peace have you been postponing? You do not need anyone's permission. You do not need a grand reason. You only need to listen to the still, quiet knowing inside. That voice has been whispering all along. Honor it. Let your final chapters be the freest ones. Let them be full of your laughter, not your labor. Let them be lit by your own fire, not dimmed by someone else's shadow. Let them be yours. You are not too old to start anew, not too tired to set a boundary, not too late to choose joy, and not too loyal to protect yourself from harm, even if the harm comes from those you once held closest. Let them go. Let yourself bloom. And when they ask where you went, say, "I went home, to myself, and I am never leaving again." Now, if you are still with me, if your heart is still steady, if your hands haven't trembled too far from truth, then stay, because we are almost there. We are nearing the heart of this message, the flame at its center, and I would not leave you until it has lit your way. So let me lean in now closer and tell you something we were rarely told when we were young. Not everyone's love is healthy. Not everyone's care is clean. Some people call it love when what they really mean is control. Some people call it family when what they mean is obligation. Some people call it duty when what they mean is guilt. And oh, how many lives have been bent under the weight of those three illusions. The illusion that if someone loves you, they must keep you small to keep you near. The illusion that because someone raised you or was raised with you, they own the right to your time, your mind, your peace. The illusion that saying no more to harmful closeness is a betrayal of your roots. Let me offer you the antidote to these illusions. Let me offer you truth, simple and clear. Love without respect is not love. Family without care is not home. Proximity without kindness is not closeness. And forgiveness without boundaries is not healing, it is sacrifice. And you are not an altar. You are not here to be burned for someone else's comfort. In these years, these treasured twilight years, your dignity must no longer be up for barter. You must guard your joy with the same devotion others reserve for gold, because it is gold. It is more than gold. It is the final fire of your becoming. Do not spend it trying to prove your worth to people who only visit when they want something. Do not waste it defending yourself to people who never tried to understand. Do not twist it into apology for people who used love as leverage. Your worth is not in your usefulness. Your value is not in your silence. And your beauty is not behind you. It walks with you still. Even now, your laughter can fill a room. Your wisdom can change lives. Your gentleness can mend things no doctor ever could. And your presence can feel like medicine, like prayer, like morning light through a cracked window. So let us be deliberate now and honest. There may come a time, if it has not already, when the very people you held in your arms, whom you poured yourself into, look upon you not with gratitude but with impatience, as though your slowness is an inconvenience, as though your needs are too loud, as though your memories are clutter and your rituals outdated. They sigh at your questions. They roll their eyes when you speak. They whisper about decisions you're too emotional to make for yourself. This is not love. This is erasure in disguise. You must recognize when care is cloaked in condescension, and you must say, "I am still here, and I matter." Yes, you still matter, even if you forget your keys, even if you repeat yourself, even if your bones ache and your steps are short, and the world feels faster than it once did. You matter, because your breath is still yours. Your eyes still see what others miss. Your heart still knows beauty when it touches it. And that, beloved, is not a burden. That is a gift, and anyone who treats it otherwise has not earned a place at your table. Let me tell you a story, not with names, not with drama, but with truth. I once knew a woman, strong in her spirit, soft in her speech, who spent her whole life loving others first. She raised children, nursed her husband through sickness, baked casseroles for neighbors, opened her wallet and her home without ever counting the cost. And when she grew older, she imagined those years would return to her in kindness. But instead they came back in demands. Her children visited only to ask for things. Her sister called only to complain. Her nephew, whom she once cradled in her lap, insisted she give him power of attorney, said he knew best, said she was confused, and so little by little she began to shrink, her voice, her joy, her independence, until one day she said to me, "I don't recognize myself," and I looked at her and I said, "That's because they've been painting over you, but the real you, the brilliant, laughing, sharp, loving you, is still there. Let's find her again." And we did. Oh, we did. She stopped answering every call. She said no, and meant it. She took her savings and went on a trip she had postponed for 30 years. She started gardening again, started writing letters to friends who made her laugh. She found new church folks who lifted her up, and she smiled in a way I hadn't seen since the beginning. Now some called her selfish, but you and I know she was finally free. Let her story be your permission. You can begin again. No matter how old you are, no matter how long the patterns have run, no matter how deep the roles have been etched, you can choose differently now. You can rewrite the contract. You can say, "This is who I am now, and this is what I will accept." No more shrinking, no more pleasing, no more carrying the whole house on my back while no one sees me falling. And yes, you may lose some people, but you will find yourself, and that is the greatest reunion of all. So let this be your charge. Let it ring in your ears, not just tonight, not just tomorrow, but whenever the old habits creep in and try to rob you of your clarity. You are not selfish for protecting your peace. You are not disloyal for stepping back from dysfunction. You are not unloving for saying enough. You are simply free. Let them misunderstand. Let them gossip. Let them go. You're real people, the ones who love you without condition, who show up without expectation, who listen without needing to fix you. Those people will stay, or they will find you, or you will build something new together, late in life like spring and autumn. It happens every day. And you, my dear, deserve to bloom. So take your time, clear the garden, watch for weeds, and plant only what feeds you. Peace is not passive, it is a revolution. And in your elder years, your seasoned, powerful, fire-tested, grace-wrapped years, there is no greater revolution than choosing joy without apology. You are not the past, you are the presence. You are not what they remember, you are what you choose. Let this moment mark your turn. The road behind you was long, but the path ahead, oh, it can be beautiful. Walk it in truth, walk it in light, walk it with your head high and your heart whole. And when they ask, "Why now?" say simply, "Because I am finally free." And that, my beloved, is reason enough. And still, I see you, sitting in the quiet pause between what was and what could be. Maybe you are gathering the names in your mind, the familiar faces, the blood-bound ones, the lifelong companions, and weighing each one against your newfound truth. That is not easy. That is not simple work. This is not a speech for the faint-hearted. This is a reckoning, and reckoning always comes with tenderness, with ache, with memory. I will not lie to you. Letting go, especially of family, especially of those who share your laugh, your history, your kitchen table, can feel like tearing your own skin, because love was there once, or something like it, something warm and needed, something that once carried you and now cuts you. But hear me, history does not entitle anyone to hurt you today, and proximity does not grant permission to keep you small. This is not betrayal, this is clarity, and clarity is a quiet thunder that says, "I was asleep for so long, and now I see." You see how the teasing was never just teasing. It was dismissal dressed up as affection. You see how they praised your strength only because they benefited from your silence. You see how your worth was always tied to your usefulness, your service, your sacrifices. And now that you want more rest, more respect, more reciprocity, they call you difficult. Let them name you with the words they need to protect their comfort. It changes nothing about who you are becoming, because every woman, every man, every elder I've ever known who dared to reclaim their space was first called ungrateful, or dramatic, or cold, but in time their lives began to sing. They learned to dance in their own kitchens, to take long walks with no destination, to wear the clothes they'd always been told didn't suit them, to cook just for themselves, to sleep through the night undisturbed by someone else's chaos, to say no and mean it, to say yes and mean that too. That is not loneliness, that is healing. And healing, contrary to what they say, is not loud, it is not public, it does not announce itself. Sometimes healing comes like rain in the night, soft, consistent, unseen. But in the morning, the garden is different. You too will be different. When you wake one day and notice that the anxious flutter in your chest has quieted, when your hands no longer shake at the sound of their voice, when you find yourself laughing, truly laughing, with no edge of guilt in your throat, that is healing. That is the reward for all this hard honesty. And I will not leave you with only warnings, because this talk, though it carries grief, is ultimately about joy. What waits on the other side of all this pruning is not just survival. It is not bitterness. It is not isolation. It is freedom. It is waking up without dread. It is spending your days in peace, not performance. It is friendships based on presence, not obligation. It is community that sees you, not just uses you. It is time returned to you, not to fix or manage or absorb, but simply to be still, to be whole, to be sovereign in your own skin. Do not believe the lie that you are too late. There are songs still unwritten in your voice. There are people, yes, even now, who are waiting to love you with gentleness. There are hours ahead that will unfold like warm bread, soft and sustaining. But you must clear the table first. Make room for what nourishes you. And as you do, remember this: boundaries are not walls, they are bridges. They connect you to the truest parts of yourself. They teach others how to love you without harm, and they honor the quiet voice inside you that always knew what was right. Listen to that voice. It is not angry, it is not cruel, it is not selfish, it is sacred, it is yours, and it has waited so long to speak. Let it say, I do not owe you access, I do not exist to soothe you. I am not here to keep peace at the cost of my spirit. And then let it say, I am still kind, I am still open, I am still full of love, but only for those who return it clean. Now maybe you are wondering what happens next. After the courage, after the separation, after the names have been whispered into the dark and let go, life happens, a new kind of life, one where your time is yours again, where your heart doesn't race every time the phone rings, where holidays are filled with peace, not performance, where you make new memories without the shadow of old pain, one where you write your story in full, not just the footnotes they gave you. And in that life, maybe you mentor someone else who is struggling to speak their truth. Maybe you hold the hand of a friend who says, but it's my own brother, and you say, I know, and you still have the right to peace. Maybe you lead by example, not loudly, not with drama, but with quiet, undeniable strength. You become the evidence that it's possible to break cycles, to choose wholeness, to build a life that doesn't hurt. And so I ask you as we close to imagine not what you're leaving, but what you are walking toward. Imagine your days filled with those who listen when you speak, who honor your time, who ask what you need, not just what they can get. Imagine yourself becoming softer, not harder, laughing more, trusting yourself again, breathing deeply, freely, without anyone's disapproval hanging over your joy. That is not fantasy, that is the fruit of truth. And you are allowed to harvest it. No matter how long you've lived in someone else's version of who you should be, you are allowed to return to yourself, even now, especially now. Because the years behind you, they've taught you, but the years ahead, they are yours. Shape them with kindness, with truth, with no apology, because you, beloved, are not here to keep the peace that steals your joy. You are here to live, fully, freely, finally, and that is enough. That is more than enough. And if you are still listening, if you are still walking with me down this path lined with memory and lit by truth, then you already know this isn't just about who to avoid. This is about how to live with softness where you once braced for blows, how to live with presence where you once disappeared, how to live with joy not tied to someone else's satisfaction. And now we return to the hardest truth of all, the truth that sometimes even love, when twisted, when tangled in expectation, can become a kind of burden, a weight that pulls at your spine and silences your laughter. And the people we hoped would offer refuge, would carry us when we are tired, sometimes only come to collect, to take, to tell us who we were, instead of asking who we are now, even if it is your daughter, your son, your oldest friend, even if it is the man you once married, or the sister you braided hair with in the quiet of childhood. I say this with love, but I say it firmly. If their presence cost you your peace, they are too expensive. If their love requires you to betray yourself, it is not love. It is a transaction, dressed in familiarity. And old age is no time for false deals. You have earned more than that, not just through years, but through becoming. Through every morning you rose with heavy limbs and moved anyway. Through every time you made something from nothing, meals, moments, miracles. Through the people you raised, the jobs you held, the losses you survived. Through the times you were told to be quiet and chose instead to speak. Through the times you stayed silent because you feared what would come after, but felt it all the same. You are a living record of persistence, and now in this season, you must persist in your peace. It is easy, I know, to hear all this and say, but what if I end up alone? That fear. Oh, it sits heavy. It haunts the edges of our resolve. Because we were taught to trade pieces of ourselves for company, to tolerate pain for the illusion of closeness, to keep doors open even as cold wind poured in. But I say this to you gently, clearly. Alone is not the same as lonely. There is a kind of aloneness that is holy, that is quiet and warm and sacred. To sit in a room where no one interrupts your silence, to make a cup of tea just the way you like it, without commentary, to play music that moves you without anyone asking you to turn it down, to wake up with no dread and fall asleep with no lingering tension. That is not loneliness. That is restoration. You may miss them. You may grieve them. You may wish they were different. But you will not miss the shrinking, the second-guessing, the emotional whiplash, the empty apologies, the performative affection, the unease. You will not miss what made you disappear in your own life. Let them be who they choose to be. You cannot change them, but you can choose who you become now, and you can choose who gets a front-row seat to your joy. I have known elders who found new community at 70, who learned to paint at 80, who took ballroom dancing at 82, who wrote poetry under trees and taught children how to read, and laughed in gardens they planted themselves. Not because they weren't once wrapped in heartbreak, not because they didn't have wounds, but because they finally stopped waiting for everyone else to love them properly, and decided to love themselves well, completely, and without permission. This is your invitation, to love yourself with the same tenacity you once used to rescue others, to tend to your body, your mind, your soul, like it is the last house you will ever live in, because it is, to surround yourself with people who make you feel not just seen, but cherished, to put away the guilt passed down like heirlooms from generations who didn't know better, to refuse the role of martyr and step into the role of author. Write yourself a new ending, one where peace is not rare, one where boundaries are honored, one where your life feels like yours again, because it is, even now, especially now. And when the doubt creeps in, as it always does, when the voices in your head start whispering, but isn't that selfish? Isn't that too much? I want you to hear my voice, steady and sure. No, it is not selfish. It is sacred. You are not too much. You are finally just enough for yourself. You do not owe anyone the parts of yourself you fought to reclaim. Let them misunderstand. Let them say what they will. Your peace does not require their approval. You are not a prisoner to your past. You are not bound to repeat patterns just because they are familiar. You are not here to smooth out the discomfort of others who never made room for yours. You are here to live, to bloom, to exhale, and to let the rest fall away. You've done enough, more than enough. And now, at last, it's time to be enough for yourself. Let them call it selfish. Let them call it cold. But when you sit in your quiet house and feel your chest unclench for the first time in years, when you sip tea without anyone raising their voice, when your memories begin to soften, when your smile becomes yours again, you will know the truth. This is not selfishness. This is liberation. This is the reward for a lifetime of carrying what was never yours to hold. And now, with your arms finally empty, your hands can begin to receive, not just gifts, but grace, not just company, but connection, not just survival, but joy. So go on and choose yourself, again and again, no matter who calls it wrong, because your soul has waited long enough. And now is the time to come home, to yourself, to peace, to the beauty of a life unburdened. Thank you.